Welcome back to Capitol Square, everybody, as we continue to examine Ohio's budget.
Republican State Representative Jay Hottinger attended the Medicaid rally on Thursday, and he says because Ohio voters overwhelmingly rejected Obamacare at the ballot box in 2011, GOP lawmakers are hearing mixed messages regarding health care.
This is a deeply divisive issue that's controversial. And so I don't think it's any shock or surprise that when representatives and senators who represent those constituencies are deeply divided as well.
And that budget next week heads to the state Senate, and waiting for it will be our guest, Minority Leader Eric Kearny, who joins us now. Budget comes to you. You've heard all of the noise as Representative Amstutz described it. Where will you start, especially when it comes to Medicaid expansion?
Well, a couple of things about Medicaid expansion, and the first thing I want to be very clear about, Ohio elected President Barack Obama. President Barack Obama was very clear about the Affordable Care Act, about his policies with respect to its application to the working poor. For some reason, the Republican House didn't get that message. I don't know why, but Ohioans supported it.
They do point out that in 2011, the state voted for issue 3, which was the federal health care law, sending a message to Washington that Ohioans didn't want Obamacare.
Okay, but Ohio elected President Obama, as did the country. So it would be their argument would have some credence if Ohio didn't vote for the president. Ohio voted for the president for the second time by a majority vote. Obamacare, or the Affordable Care Act, or whatever you want to call it, was on the table. Ohio supports that. It's good for our economy. You played a clip earlier from Governor Kasich, who puts out a very persuasive argument about Medicaid expansion. It creates more problems by rejecting it than it solves.
But with the Democrats being in the minority, I mean, are you all willing to vote for the Kasich budget to save Medicaid?
Well, I would have to look at that, but I'll tell you, we're going to present a separate bill about Medicaid expansion because we believe this is a critical issue to Ohio. And then we'll see whether our Senate Republican colleagues will consider that bill. Will it get a hearing? Will it be incorporated into the budget, or what they'll do?
Do you need
and
7?
People know.
You've got 10 Democrats in the Senate. The magic number, right, would be 17. You'd have to get 7 Republicans to kind of go public with this. Do you have their names? Because
well,
we'd like to talk to
them. No, I don't have their names. But the issue's out there, and if people support it, they can stand up and support it. I mean, I think that there are a number of Senate Republicans who are in districts that favor the expansion of Medicaid.
Senator, there is a cost containment problem here. I was looking at some of these figures this morning. Medicaid now 27% of the state budget. It's gone up from $187 billion in 2000 to $346 billion in 2009. So, I mean, at some point, the issue of costs that is being raised in this debate have to be addressed, right?
Well, okay, let's look at cost. The cost that Representative Amstutz just mentioned was the federal cost. He wasn't talking about the state of Ohio cost. He's worried, and the Tea Party is worried about the expansion of federal government and the deficit and all of that. But those are legitimate arguments if you're in the United States Senate or if you're in the United States House. But we're here in Ohio. Those are our tax dollars that we're sending to Washington. We should get them back in order to help our economy, to help our citizens, because it will help our employment rate. It'll help our hospitals. How do you get Right to Life, the Chamber of Commerce, the Ohio Democratic Party, all these diverse groups, all saying they want Medicaid expansion? They had a huge rally this past week, and there's no movement? I mean, come on, seriously.
So you mentioned the Democratic Party, the Senate, working on its own Medicaid bill. What about a budget? Why not say, here's a budget that's better?
Well, that's something that we're considering. We've been working with ideas for months now after seeing Governor Kasich's budget. I think effectively what the Ohio Republican House did was dismantle the governor's budget and, quite frankly, take his knees out. Politically they did. And so we've got some ideas that we think are worth talking about. For one, we think that there's not enough money associated with education. Education should be a #1 priority for Ohio. That's because we've got a plan for our students to be competitive, not just here in Ohio or not just in the Midwest, but nationally and internationally. And quite frankly, the governor's budget didn't do that. With all due respect to my good friend, and I served with him in the Senate, Representative Amstutz, his budget doesn't do it.
Senator, we're down to just 30 seconds or so, but I'm wondering here, the politics, you mentioned the politics a couple seconds ago. You're with Governor Kasich on this Medicaid expansion, this huge broad coalition, but if it doesn't go, I can imagine the email beginning summer where Democrats will talk about failed leadership. I mean, is this going to fall at the governor's feet in the end, even though he's disappointed the Tea Party, angered the Tea Party, and risked his own political base? If he doesn't get this done, Democrats are going to swing around, and this is going to be his failure.
You mean Medicaid expansion?
Medicaid expansion.
Yes, I think that will be an argument that Democrats will make, and I think Governor Kasich's probably comfortable with that. He's not worried about that, I don't think.
All right, Minority Leader Eric Kearny, thank you for coming in.
Always good
Appreciate
to see you,
it.
Senator.
Thank you.
Well, so much happening this week, and our strategists,
Just a little bit.
Oh boy, they cannot wait to jump in and have their say.
Coming up, from the left, Brian Rothenberg making his premiere on Capitol Square, so he better be good. And from the right, our good friend Terry Casey in the fastest political debate in America. Two sides. We'll be right back.